Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 194. Another week's gone screaming by. I trust you had a good one. We did here at the ranch. Life seems to be settling in, and I am grateful for a little bit of routine back to the day. Hey, I want to thank you guys. You guys really pushed hard this last week. We went up another 10 points, and I'm real grateful. The ratings to keep going up. Doesn't mean I don't make any money off this, but it does mean more people listen, and I get to perhaps influence, affect, and help people with the photography, which is the whole goal. I also want to thank my good friends at Bedford Camera. Long story short, they saved my tuchus again. Got a project, have a product, ProPhoto B2. Lithium batteries, they got a problem. As soon as they go dead, they're dead, as in they're not revivable. Did my usual, get them out a few days in advance, make sure everything was good, and found the problem. Called the Bedford Camera, because who else would I go to? They had one, got it to me next day, saved my tuchus. So I'm telling you, Bedford Camera, Bedford.com, use that Moose discount. MOOSE, save yourself money, save yourself time, but more importantly, get the product and the service that you've earned. Bedford Camera. Thanks, guys. So I get right into this week's podcast. Probably won't be as long as usual, but hopefully it's sweeter. I hate screwing up. Have you ever done a shoot and looked at pictures and think, oh my Lord, someone should take my cameras away? I'm not worthy. Well, so I've mentioned a few times that we moved up here to the ranch in Montana, right? I have mentioned that. And it's been a couple of months now, and we've got settled in, boxes unpacked, and creating a new routine. So in other words, stuff used to be in this drawer, that drawer, in this cabinet, and that cabinet, and now they're not. They've been moved around. So I had an air-to-air shoot to go to. First thing I need is to find my safety harness and my headset. I knew I unpacked it, but darn, I put it in a new drawer, not where it had been before, and in a new case, and for days, couldn't find it. And how do I know I need this stuff? Well, I was going through my checklist, of course. And once I found those things, I kind of abandoned my checklist and went on and gathered what I needed. Got it all out in the truck, ready to go. Good thing, all set to go. So then, off we go. Drive 3.5 hours to the airport where we're going to launch out of. Get there. First thing I find out is I should not. First mistake, I hate screwing up, is I didn't continue reading the checklist. I got the first couple of things. After the panic of not knowing where I had packed them, I found them, abandoned my checklist, and what I find out, I did not have my camera strap. That's a really essential piece of gear. So then I'm looking around, and I didn't have my backup camera strap. Lordy, right? And I'm not doing one. I'm not doing two. I'm doing 4 aircraft. I got 4 missions to do, each one unique and special, and I have no strap. What a way to go, right? So, alrighty. Like I mentioned now, I've got 4 aircraft. We take off, we launch, have no camera strap, so I am holding on to the D6 and the 7200 F4 with everything I've got. My hands today are still sore. If I sit there and try to make just a half of a clenched fist, oh, my hands are just barking at me, trying to write something with a pen. You might as well shoot me now. I mean, I was death gripped on this gear. And I'm pretty good at hand holding, right? So I figured I can make it work. So we launch, we go off, we're doing the first aircraft. D6 is nailing it. First thing, I typically use Auto Area AF. And I started off with that, and I said, I wonder what 3D would do. Because my good friend Jason was talking so highly of the vast improvements in the D6 with the 3D. So I switched to it. Yeah, for air to air, it's going to be that 3D, not the auto area AF anymore. I'm changing it up. It really, well, that's a whole nother topic. Anyway, so I'm shooting, and my basic routine is once we launch, I sit there and I use a faster shutter speed. I nail some tack sharp images, so I make sure I have those in the can, and then I go to work. So I'm shooting an older biplane, a stomp. Put the shutter speed down to 80th a second. I'm in shutter priority, and I'm just shooting away. And every so often I'd look, and I'm not using my reading glasses because I'm in an open, I'm hanging out a door, right? So reading glasses are going to go off and be gone. And I'm already clinched onto this camera with all my heart and soul because I didn't have a strap. What an idiot. And so I'm sitting there shooting, and I'm chimp every so often, looking sharp. Things are going well. Boom, boom, boom. Go, go, go. Next plane, kind of the same thing. We actually land because, we're switching pilots and planes. I land, get back up again, up shooting, click, click, click. Things seem to be going well. Got some very special things that we're doing with this photo mission. It's not just your basic, here's a plane in the skies. We're doing a bunch of really amazing things. And I'm shooting away. Port moments, I chimp, I zoom in, look sharp, doing good. We land. Everybody's ecstatic. It was a whole lot. It was 3.5 hours of incredible fun. Over 12,000 images on the Pro Grade 1 terabyte card. I'm feeling really good about that. Yes, I said over 12,000 images, 3.5 hours. Get planes tucked in, say goodbye, drive home, 3.5 hours, get back to the ranch, get up, pop the card in the computer and look. Out of focus, out of focus, out of focus, out of focus. Images are out of focus, out of focus. I hate when I screw up, especially when it comes to that photograph, not getting that photograph. So I'm looking at these photographs, and not that the whole shoot or all 4 shoots were a scrub when it comes to the actual images. And, my usual keeper rate is around 82% when I do air-to-airs. And this time it was down to 61, maybe 60%. And that bothers me. So instantly it's like, what's changed? Well, so I'm thinking that and pulling out the checklist. Once again, looking at the different factors. I had one new pilot, and the images I had a greater percentage of sharp ones was one pilot compared to the other. Why was that? Looking at that, that wasn't it. And then I sat back and I thought and wore my typical long sleeve shirt. I had rolled it up because it was really warm. And I remember, thank goodness I remembered it, that the sleeve kept rolling down on me. And then I remember on the one flight, the pilot said, I feel some buffeting. And I go, oh, it must be my arm out of the cockpit because it's hanging out the plane. And I brought it in, he goes, oh, that was it. And that's what it occurred to me when I was looking at my pictures, that my left arm, that's the one that's hanging out the plane, that's holding up that lens, that shirt was being buffeted by the wind and flapping in the wind, and not only was it kind of bugging me, it was actually killing my images. Well, knocked down my percentage. So I screwed up again. It's like, that was an obvious. I felt it. The pilot felt it. Didn't, register in the old head to do something about it. So today, first thing I did is I ordered a very elastic kind of muscle band that goes from my wrist all the way up my arm, so I could just put that over any shirt I have, and then I don't have it flapping in the wind. All right, so now I'm finishing images, and as I've mentioned before, pilots just love seeing images. Hang in there. I'm going to get to the good part. So I'm sitting there finishing images, and I had enough to finish. I sent off the first batch from the first photo mission. Guy loves them. Wrote back, kind words, sent them back, happy. So I'm happy. So then I picked some quick images from the second mission, finish them, email them off. No response. Images from the third one, you send them off. No response. I sent the images from the last shoot, which was the big finale kind of thing, the big spectacular sunset, the big one. Some nice images. I kind of like them. I got back this email, which, well, it was kind of like pilot talk. It said nothing about the photographs. So then I'm like, oh, man, I've totally screwed up. I mean, this is a big photo mission. So I screwed up by not following my checklist. I screwed up by not having my strap. I screwed up by having a sleeve, which means I screwed up because I had images out of focus. I sent out that email with what I thought were some really nice images, and I got no response. And I got a response before, and I'm like, oh, I just, I hate screwing up because this was a biggie, and it was important. It was really important. And I could have sat there and I sat there and thought, I haven't done a air-to-air mission since like last December, maybe January. I didn't look it up because, the way the world is at the moment. I said, yeah, that's no excuse for this whole thing. I did some of my homework, but I didn't follow his checklist. But yeah, okay, so I screwed that up. I knew it wasn't the camera, it wasn't the lens. It was obvious that it was me. I mean, as soon as there's one tack sharp photograph, it's not the gear. It has to be me. And I had, like I said, about 60% of the images, were tack sharp. So I'm sitting there just languishing, just like, I hate screwing up. And then I got a phone call, and it's the client. And I'm like, oh no, here's the phone call. I'm going to hear about, the expense of doing this whole thing and everything else. And, this is the results. And I was like, kind of bracing myself. It's not the client to do that, but he's such a great client. Letting him down for even a second just tears me up. And he said, and he called me earlier after the first set of images and said some very kind words. And it was a very brief 30-second phone call. So then he called again. And, like I said, I'm bracing myself. And he said, you're just such a wizard, this thing. I can't believe, what these photographs. And he goes, you're so great to work with. And I'm like, okay, this is not really what I was expecting. And I said, oh, so you like the photographs? And he goes, well, the reason why it took so long for me to respond is because, well, there's a lot of emotion here at the hangar because your photographs. And that was like the biggest compliment you can get, right? I mean, it's nice when they say they're good or they love them, but when they say they're choked up by your photographs, hey, you had a home run. So the moral of the story is we're really quick and easy to beat ourselves up. Perhaps we don't need to. The photography, I've said it many times, you could take a bad picture and tomorrow the sun will still rise. So, we all screw up. I screw up. I just don't typically do a podcast or a blog post or anything about screwing up. But believe me, I do. So you're not alone. So keep that in mind next time you go out shooting. Might take a little pressure off the whole process. Might have a little more fun and maybe just stick in a couple more pixels of passion as you go. Because remember, every time it goes click, make it your story.